budget cuts and the privatization of the institution. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. Thousands of Egyptian pro-democracy protesters have returned to Cairo's Tahrir Square in defiance of violent attacks from supporters of President Hosni Mubarak. Over the past 2 days, the square was the scene of shocking violence broadcast all over the world. Mubarak loyalists, many of them riding horses and camels, attacked pro-democracy protesters with guns, Molotov cocktails, and other weapons. Government forces, meanwhile, have intensified their crackdown, assaulting and arresting activists and journalists, as well as raiding the offices of several legal and human rights groups.
The New York Times is reporting the Obama administration's open talks with Egyptian officials on Mubarak's immediate resignation. The proposal under discussion would see Vice President Omar Suleiman lead a transitional government before elections later this year. The former head of Egyptian intelligence, Suleiman, is deeply unpopular in Egypt. There is also no indication Mubarak or his top aides have shown any willingness to seriously consider the proposal. Mubarak's defiantly vowed to finish out his term. On Thursday, he told ABC News he's tired of the presidency, but fears stepping down would lead to chaos. Pro-democracy organizers have labeled today the Day of Departure, or D-Day, a final push for Mubarak's immediate resignation. Protests are beginning to swell with the end of Friday prayers. For more, we go right now to Cairo, to Tahrir Square, to Democracy Now! Senior producer Sharif Abdel Kouddous. Sharif, welcome to Democracy Now! What do you see?
Amy, I'm standing on a balcony 10 stories up, right overlooking Tahrir Square. I'm just looking at an ocean of people here. They're streaming tens of thousands of more in over Usher New Bridge and the other entrances into Tahrir. This is the day that they call the Day of Departure. It's 1 week since the people of Egypt went to battle against the Interior Ministry and won and claimed the streets of Cairo and claimed Tahrir. And they have occupied Tahrir ever since. And they have come under brutal assault by Mubarak loyalists, by the Mubarak regime, in a coordinated campaign of violence. They resisted, and they managed to keep Tahrir Square, and this is the day that they say Mubarak will go. They have said this before, and they're hoping that this time it will be true. He does not seem to be acceding to the protesters' demands, although he continues to make concessions except the one that they want. They want his ouster. So they remain hopeful. They remain defiant. I spent the night here last night. It was a very different scene at night. There's much fewer people at night. There's a lot of political discussion, a lot of conversation. There's fires, there's singing. There were also moments of tension following Wednesday's brutal day and night assault. People have set up barricades that are increasingly sophisticated with warning signals, several levels of security. And throughout the night, when it got late, starting at about 1 a.m., we would have moments where the alarms would be sent out, where people would start whistling and banging on metal, and everyone would rush to that entrance to protect it. The Baltageya, the pro-Mubarak thugs, were just kind of taunting, I think, at different entranceways, and people would rush to them at various points of the night, but never any real threat. Right now, they would not dare enter the square. It is just packed with people, and I have a great view from here, and more are just streaming in.
Well, Sharif, some of the reports that we're receiving now are saying that the military has once again reasserted itself in taking over a lot of the entrances to Tahrir Square, and that basically that they are keeping out some of the pro-Mubarak folks that have created all of the violence over the last couple of days. What's your sense from what you're able to tell of the access to the square and where the pro-Mubarak thugs are right now?
I mean, the military has always had tanks stationed at every entrance point. They've always had soldiers there, but the main people who control the access are the citizens here that do all the ID checks. Then after you get past the military, they check you again to make sure you're not state security. But Juan, we've never seen the numbers of the Mubarak loyalists try and rush into the square as they did on Wednesday. There are a number of infiltrators that are in the square. I myself was tailed killed yesterday. I found a man just continually asking my name, following me, just did not look the part. When I asked him who he was very directly, he just scurried off. And every once in a while during the night, they would find one of these people, ask for his ID. It would turn out to be police or state security. There'd be a scuffle, and they'd grab him and deposit him to the military to take into custody. But the military does seem to be having more control. But, you know, that's what we thought earlier. And they allowed in these thugs on horseback and camel to attack these people with Molotov cocktails, with knives and guns. So it's unclear what will happen next. But what we do know now is that the people of Egypt are coming out in a very strong show of force, despite this brutal assault.
We hear, Sharif, that violence is breaking out in Alexandria, where major protests have been going on. Is there any communication between people in Tahrir Square and in Alexandria?
Well, I mean, as you know, being on the ground here, it's hard to get information from other parts of Egypt. I haven't spoken to anyone who's been in touch with people in Alexandria, so I can't speak to that. What I can say is that there have been sporadic incidents of violence here, but nothing like that we saw on Wednesday evening.
And the ability of the international press to get around the square, obviously in the last 2 days that was severely curtailed as more and more attacks on journalists and harassment of journalists occurred. What's the scene like today?
Well, you know, the crackdown on the press was harsh and it was ominous. Let me just say, I think the safest place for a journalist to be is inside Tahrir Square. You know, journalists are welcomed here. They're able to film. It's once you leave Tahrir, you're on the streets of Cairo that the Mubarak regime still controls, where journalists have come under a heavy crackdown. We were almost taken, actually, yesterday when we were coming from, when I spoke to you on the outskirts of Tahrir Square, walking back in at an army checkpoint, what looked like maybe military police or mukhabarat, started questioning us, asking us for our journalism credentials, something we've never been asked before. And we were very, very close to being taken in, but we talked our way out of it. So there is... And also, you know, our camera people hide their cameras now when they go into the streets of Cairo. They don't show them as they did. But again, I think the safest place for a journalist is right here in Tahrir.
We're going to go to break. We're speaking to Democracy Now's senior producer, Sharif Abdel Kouddous. He's in Tahrir Square, where he stayed all last night. We're also going to talk about the number of journalists who were cracked down on. The Committee to Protect Journalists says more than 50. We're going to talk to them next. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Back in a second.